चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for coming today. Is there anyone today who was not there yesterday? Okay. So I'll summarize what we discussed yesterday so that everyone will catch up with it. So we have been discussing broadly the topic of we started by discussing that if a good person does a bad thing, when does that make the person bad, or does the person still remain a good person? So we're trying to understand human motivation and as an assessment of people's character. And in that connection we discussed Karna's story, and so we started by discussing about his birth and how he was disadvantaged from birth. But then this was Karna, but then Arjuna was also disadvantaged because he had an unsafe childhood. So his childhood of Arjuna was unsafe because he was always threatened. So then we discussed about how they both had, as a starting point, they both had something negative and they both had something positive. That was their talent. And then they both exhibited commitment. So when they exhibited that commitment, then they both got achievement. They both became great archers. And then we talked about the alliance that was formed between, on one side, Karna and Duryodhana. We discussed that elaborately. And then also briefly discussed alliance between Arjuna and Krishna. So at this point, there are some similarities in their life trajectory. Both have risen from difficulties to achieve laudable positions. And we were not able to discuss about karma. So when we discussed about karma, we broadly discussed that it can have many meanings, but the most important meaning for us is Karna's karma is the actions that he has done, and karma has reactions that he is facing. So Karna is seen as a hero who was wronged. So the topic we'll be exploring today was Karna is a heroic figure. But as a heroic figure, was Karna wrong? Was he wrong? What is spelling of wrong? Was he wronged or was he wrong? Were wrongs done to him or did he do wrongs? That's the broad theme that we'll be discussing. And I was discussing this under the broad structure of an acronym BARS. So birth and alliance. Now we will discuss regrets. Everybody in life has regrets. Because nobody is perfect and nobody makes the best decisions all the time. Even if we make good decisions, in retrospect we might think that I could have made a better decision. I could have done a better choice. So the regret of a person, it can be known through their actions and through their words also. Yesterday there was this topic which came up about should violence be allowed or should violence always be avoided. So we can talk about broadly three kinds of people. There are people who are basically good people, they have goodness. The opposite of this are people who have wickedness. And in between are people with weakness. So generally people who are good, they won't do a wrong thing. And if there is even a wrongdoing, we can say that it's not that good people won't make a mistake, because the nature of the world is we all can commit mistakes. So there is, when we commit a mistake, there are two broad things which are required after somebody has committed a mistake. So we'll look at these three kinds of people in terms of how they respond to mistakes. So response to mistakes. Why are we discussing this? Because we are discussing the topic of regrets. So now, generally, when there is a mistake, there need to be two things. There is regret, which is more internal. And then there is reform, which is more external. After I do something bad, I feel bad. I should not have done this. And then after that, okay, I will not do this again. So if we consider these kind of people, these various kinds of people. So a person with goodness, there is regret and there is reform. Okay, I made a mistake, I'm really sorry about it and I won't do it again. And they will not do it again. For a person with weakness, there is regret, but often there is no reform. Because that weakness is there within us, they may keep repeating that within that person. On the other hand, a person with wickedness, there is no reform and there is not even regret. Somebody may just do something to terribly hurt the other person. And the only regret they feel is, I didn't hurt you more. So, if a person has no regret after doing something wrong, so generally speaking, if a person with goodness does something wrong, so what could be our response? Such people, forgiveness. We should not hold that against them forever. It's okay, you made that mistake at that time. Not only we will say forget and forgive, both. Let's end the chapter, don't hold it against them. On the other hand, if there is a person with weakness, then there can be forgiveness, but along with that, there has to be some kind of either assistance or insistence on the reform. Sometimes, so this could be plus assistance. The person may not want to do that thing, but maybe they keep relapsing. Suppose somebody is an alcoholic and they keep drinking again and again. Now they want to give up alcohol, but somehow they are not able to give it up. Then we may decide to help them. Assistance could be that, okay, let's not keep any alcohol in your home. Let's not have any alcohol in your workplace. Maybe tell your colleagues. There are some people, now a lot of people have become gambling addicts now, with online gambling coming up. So sometimes there are people who either they tell others or they tell their well-wishers tell them that this person should not be allowed into this particular establishment. People are bad, so the assistance is required. And then we can give the assistance so that they can be helped for reform. Or sometimes insistence is required. Like if somebody keeps the employee somewhere and they keep forgetting or losing things. If you lose this again, you will not have a bad heart. You're going to lose this again, then you will be fired. It's a serious thing. So sometimes insistence is required. Now, for the person with wickedness, forgiveness is nothing but foolishness. Because if such a person is forgiven, the only thing that they are going to do is hit back again and hit back harder. Because there is nothing inside them to stop them from doing something wrong. So broadly speaking, we could say that among the characters in the Mahabharata, who can you say is defined by the killings? Duryodhana, yes. Duryodhana never ever showed any remorse for what he had done. No feeling of regret, and there was no reformation. He tried to kill Bhima first by poisoning him. And after that didn't work out. So he tried something bigger. Okay, we couldn't kill one member of the family, kill the entire family. So he just keep doing worse things. So such people, they need punishment. Now, where do you think Karna will fall? Weakness. Let's see. So, now we will see where Karna's position is, broadly speaking. Now, and where do you think Arjuna will fall? Goodness. Now, did Arjuna have any regrets? What were his regrets?
Just before war,
he regretted that he had to fight the war. That is more of a hesitation than regret. See, regret is, I did something wrong and I should not have done it. Maybe I should have done better. So we will come to that. But broadly, you could say this is the spectrum. We will come to situations where Arjuna felt some regret. But at this point, you can say Karna, he was a hero. Yesterday when we discussed his qualities, he was a good person overall. He was charitable, he was heroic. Now he allied with Duryodhana. And at this point, he did not know Duryodhana's character. Now what happened to Karna was that from the childhood, he was a warrior and he wanted a sense of acceptance. That's a normal human need. I should be accepted in this particular community. People sometimes go to great lengths. If there is some elite club, say there is, as I just said, there is a Lions club or track club or whatever. I don't know what clubs are there. Sometimes people spend a lot of money and make a lot of effort just to see I belong to that inner circle. So sometimes if some spiritual master comes, somebody wants to always be around the spiritual master. Wherever their photograph is there, my photograph is there. So I belong to that inner circle. So that feeling is there. Now that's not a bad thing necessarily. But the idea is, we all humans, it's a human need for at one level a sense of acceptance, and acceptance is associated with belonging. And accepted means I belong. And now, after acceptance, we may also seek prominence. I don't just want to be one of them. I want to be a part of that elite group. But maybe there are 25 people in that elite group, I want to stand out in that elite group. So this is a natural human need. If there's a school-going child and the parents shift from one place to another because of their job or whatever reason, and the kids have to make friends in a new school, and then they want acceptance in that group, and sometimes it's not easy, especially if in the middle of the year you're shifting and already the year has started, the various groups are formed, and getting entry is not so easy. So we could say that this is a universal human need. As we grow older, that need still remains, but especially when we are young, we are more vulnerable. Because we have that very deep need for acceptance. And generally, the acceptance that we need is primarily from our peers. We of course want the appreciation from our elders, but acceptance from our peers is very important. And this can make a person vulnerable. So, for example, a kid in school may not want, may have been brought up in a good family, and therefore he's learned good habits. You shouldn't smoke, you shouldn't drink, you shouldn't do drugs. But then everybody in the school is doing that, everybody in college is doing that. And then they mock him, oh, you are such a baby, you don't do this. And then that person starts feeling a little pressure. So that sense of belonging, or the need craving for acceptance and belonging can make a person do things which they may not want to do. So if we consider, in the presence of Karna, after the alliance was formed, slowly Karna, if you look at Karna and Duryodhan relationship, so how that relationship went or how it affected Karna. So initially, whenever Duryodhan would come up with a scheme, so there was first active opposition. So for example, when Duryodhan said, let's send them to Varnava, he came and let them have, they may never come back. So Karna said, why do we need to do such things? Let's challenge them for a fight. And in a fair fight, we can defeat them. Karna was still itching for that opportunity to prove that he was better than Arjuna. Now, there was an opposition. But if you see from Duryodhana's eyes, Karna was a good friend, but still he was a new guy. He was the person who depended on Duryodhana's patronage. And Duryodhan, for him, Shakuni was like a worldly wise person. So he respected Shakuni far more. And Shakuni said, oh Karna, you are a child. Force should never be used if you can resolve issues by other means. That's a good advice. But the other means are not peaceful negotiation. It is conspiracy. And that's a bad thing. So Duryodhan went along with that. So when somebody is doing something bad, and that person is our friend, or we want to be their friend. Now, in one sense, Karna was not a fool. Karna realized that Duryodhan also needs me. He could make out that there is a rival quickly. There's a rivalry between Duryodhan and the Pandavas. And he realized that this person needs me for this. So, but at the same time, he felt that he needed Duryodhana more. Because there was no immediate threat for Duryodhana that there was going to be a war. But on the other hand, Karna had just got introduced to this circle. So, now he could have been in Anga and he could have been ruling Anga, but most of the Mahabharata, if you see, he is just for namesake the king of Anga. The administration of Anga goes on most of the time. He is most of the time with Duryodhana. So he became a part of Duryodhana's inner circle. So he was respected for his might by Duryodhana, but not for his intelligence. So Duryodhana never took advice from Karna. So what happened? Initially there was active opposition. And when he told him, hey, don't do this. Why do you want to do this? Normally when we give some advice and the other person doesn't take it, then we start thinking, should I be giving advice also? And then when that person not only neglects our advice but expresses disapproval, expresses annoyance for us to give on our giving advice, then what happens is, then he starts, stop it. Now from active opposition, therefore he went to silent consent. So this is where, as the schemes went on, so when then the Pandavas were actually burned. Now there was an out, or at least it was reputed that they were burned in the fire at Varnava. It was a scandal in the Kaurava dynasty. The Kauravas, the citizens, loved the Pandavas. Because the Pandavas were courteous, respectful, and people started blaming, oh, this is something the Kauravas must have done. But at that time, Karna maintained silence, Duryodhana maintained silence. And they all made it out, oh, it was a tragic accident. And then after that, when the Pandavas married Draupadi and then they came back, they were given half the kingdom. So at this point, then they performed the Rajasuya Yajna, they became victorious. So then Shakuni had the scheme of a gambling match. And at that time, Karna initially just gave his consent. Okay. He didn't say, okay, that's what he wanted to do it. But when the actual match came, that that is the time Karna went to the opposite end. There was active instigation. It was, see, once we decide I want to belong to a particular group, then we don't want just acceptance, we want prominence. You know what you are doing? Actually, I can do it also well. So it was during the gambling match, it was Karna who suggested that now Draupadi is your maid. So drag her into the assembly. Now he prided himself on being a Kshatriya. A Kshatriya is basically Kshatrayate iti Kshatriya. Kshatriya is a person who is meant to protect. Shata is earth, and Trayate is to protect. So he is meant to protect people, and especially women are meant to be protected. So here what happened was that in one sense Duryodhan gave him inclusion in the Kshatriya circle. But in gaining that inclusion in the Kshatriya circle, he ended up acting against Kshatriya values. So this was the, you could say, the irony or the tragedy. I mean, we gain something externally, but the internal of why you gain something, that is lost. Somebody longs to say, I want to become a law enforcement officer, I want to become an anti-corruption activist or whatever. And now to get into that, you need the favor of someone. Once you get the favor of that person, then to stay in the good books of that person, you have to do the opposite of what they wanted, what you started off. So this is what happened. Duryodhana's influence was such that at a subtle level and then at a gross level. So he gave him inclusion in Kshatriya circle, but it was almost like by that influence, Kshatriyas are not just people who live in palaces, they're not just people who fight with arms, it's also values. There was, you could say, losing of Kshatriya values. Now to his credit, Karna, after the whole incident happened, he expressed his regret twice. Once to Krishna, we talked about an incident later, when Krishna came as the peace messenger, and also to Bhishma. When he met him, he said that, because of the desire to please Duryodhana, I ended up doing something terrible. So, I regret what he did. Now, of course, for every action there could be multiple reasons, and we will have question answers. So there is there are other factors because of which Karna, what he did that. We will discuss those. But this is where the corrupting influence of those actions started happening. Now, this went on, and the Pandavas were exiled to the forest. At that time, Karna became a very close friend of Duryodhana. And with Karna's help, just as Yudhishthira had performed the Rajasuya Yajna, Duryodhana wanted to do the same thing that the Pandavas had done. He wanted the same prestige, I am as good as them. But the Brahmin said that while the person who has performed the Rajasuya Yajna is still alive, you cannot perform the same yajna. So now, already things were bad enough between them. So he said, he had no plan to immediately go and attack and kill them. So he said, is there some alternative? So then, it was interesting, Duryodhana performed a Vaishnava yajna. Now he had no devotion to Vishnu, and he had antipathy toward those who were Vaishnavas. So for him, the Vaishnava Yajna was not at all a devotional occasion. It was more of a socio-cultural occasion. That the idea is that I want to show how prosperous I am. Even for the Bhagavatam and Daksha Prajapati, when the Yajna was being performed, if he had really been in this spiritual consciousness, he would not have got so offended when he felt that Shiva did not respect him. But for some people, the occasion might be spiritual, but the actually for them, it's just an exhibition of social power, social influence, prosperity. So Vaishnava Yajna was not at all a spiritual thing for him. It was totally a social thing. To demonstrate his social prowess. For the Pandavas, they performed Rajasuya Yajna so that they could establish Krishna as the Agrapurush, the greatest personality. So for them it was to glorify Krishna. It's something like, say, there is some devotee who works very hard and maybe enters into politics and becomes influential, becomes the chief minister or the prime minister of the country. And then, at the inauguration, the devotee invites his spiritual master as a chief guest person. So the devotee's fame is used to give one's guru the fame. So like that, Krishna was of course himself very powerful. But from the world's perspective, the Kurus and the Panchalas were the biggest kings. The Yadus, they had not got involved so much in the world's geopolitics at that time. They had first in Mathura and they had gone to Dwarka. And Dwarka was its own place, separate from most of the country. And they were living over there. So he wanted to glorify, the Yudhishthira wanted to glorify Krishna. For Duryodhana, he only wanted to glorify himself. So Karna performed a yajna for him. How did Karna help Duryodhana perform the yajna? Even for this yajna also he had to go and challenge various warriors, various kingdoms. So Karna went on behalf of Duryodhana. And he fought against various warriors. The Pandavas, Bhima didn't want to submit. But then the Pandavas didn't have a kingdom. There was not much of a fight later. And Yudhishthira said, yeah, he has my good wishes and blessings. Yudhishthira didn't want any fight at all. So there was no fight with the Pandavas. And Karna was truly powerful. Now after this, then when the end of the exile happened, and the various peace proposals were rejected. So at that time, let's see what happened. So the acronym we are discussing is BARS. So we discuss R is regret. He had the regret, but we see that the regret did not lead to reform. He did not feel, oh, Duryodhana's influence on me is toxic. How could I have done this? That's a good question to ask. But instead of just beating ourselves up, how could I have done this? We also have to analyze what are the causes that made me do this. Ultimately, it's my misuse of free will. But if there are certain toxic influences on us, then we have to distance ourselves. So, why I told the Vaishnava story is that actually the Duryodhana Karna bond became stronger, not weaker. And then this D is distortion. Distortion of intelligence, distortion of reasoning. So we could say that what Karna did in the gambling match was bad, but it was circumstantial. It was a terrible thing happening, and in that particular gambling match, everybody came out bad. The only person who actually came out good was Draupadi. Although she was the person who was being dishonored, she tried to remind everyone of Dharma. And then she was miraculously protected. So otherwise everybody came out looking bad. And Karna also came out looking bad. So if we say, he was not singularly bad. He alone was not bad. Everybody was bad. So it is sometimes there is, what is that word? Mass psychology, herd mentality, or the psychology of mob psychology. Sometimes when a mob goes mad and starts rioting, so some of the good people may also start joining and they start hitting and beating and killing, even hurting and killing at times, robbing and things which you never do normally, they do under the collective mania that comes up. So we could say that the earlier decision, his conduct in the gambling match, his behavior could be attributed to just the time or the mob influence. Everybody came out badly in that incident. So the discussion we were having is, when does a bad action make a person bad? So one action you could say is excusable, second action is excusable, but how far does it go? So this is where Karna's dark side starts coming out actually. So Krishna comes as a peace messenger and Duryodhana rejects Krishna's peace proposal. He even tries to arrest Krishna. Krishna exhibits Vishwarupa and Duryodhana's plan is foiled, but his intention is not weakened. He said, oh, this Krishna caught us unprepared. He shows some magic and it returns. So Krishna is going the next day. That evening when Krishna is walking out of the Kuru assembly, he sends a message to Karna. I want to talk to you tomorrow before I go. Now Krishna wanted to ensure, ideally speaking, let's avoid war. But if the war can't be avoided, then minimize the war. Minimize the war. So if the opposite side has multiple people supporting them, then if you can take away that support, then they will not fight so much. So Krishna's plan, when he talked with Karna, was if somehow Karna would not support Duryodhana, that it's avoid violence, avoid war completely. If not, then minimize war. So avoid was talking with Duryodhana in the Kuru assembly basically. Minimize was talking with Karna. So he talked with Karna, and at that time Krishna told Karna that Krishna used multiple arguments. It's quite not a very long discussion, but it's a very significant discussion. In fact, in some ways, in terms of the consequence of this discussion. Okay, consequence of this discussion is actually similar to Krishna Arjuna's discussion, which comprises the Bhagavad Gita. It's not, in the content is not that profound. They're not analyzing various yoga paths, but it was a choice. That was a difficult choice to make. So Krishna told Karna that you are actually the son of Kunti. You are the eldest of the Pandavas. And if you come over to the Pandava side, I will tell Yudhishthira about your identity. And Yudhishthira and all the Pandavas will follow you, just as Indra is followed by the Vedas. Indra follow, all the Devtas follow Indra. And you will become the king. Now here, if you see what Krishna offered Karna, in one sense, what Krishna offered Karna was actually the fulfillment of all his aspirations. See, he wanted acceptance. Now he had got acceptance by having a kingdom and by having Kshatriya at his archery ability. But if he got lineage, actually I am having Kshatriya blood. The acceptance, that lineage, Krishna was giving him that officially. Now somebody might claim, oh actually I am the son of so and so. But if that family doesn't accept, then there is still dispute going on. But if that family not only accepts, but it's like, you are made the king, you would have got the complete acceptance. And not only that, he would get acceptance, and he was also going to give prominence. Prominence was, you're not just one of the brothers, you're the first son, and therefore you will become the king. Now, Krishna, in one sense, was offering Karna everything that Duryodhana had offered and more. Because in Duryodhana's army, after they won the war, it would have been Duryodhana would have become the king. Karna is not going to become the king. And still Karna's parentage would remain dubious. So what Krishna offered Karna was much greater than what Duryodhana could ever offer to Karna. Now, while this was there, what was the reasoning of Karna? Karna said that actually what you are saying is already known to me. Kunti had come to me and told me about this. So he said that I have also had dreams. In a dream I saw that Duryodhana is dressed in black and he is lying on a cart driven by donkeys and it's going downwards towards the lower regions. And Yudhishthir is dressed in white and ascending a majestic chariot that is rising upwards. Based on my understanding of the dreams, this signifies that Yudhishthir is going to be victorious and Duryodhana is going to die. He said that in the coming war, the dice that was thrown at the Pandavas, that dice is going to come as a Gandiva fire. The fire of Arjuna's bow, and I will be killed. He said, but Duryodhana needs me right now. How can I abandon him? He gave two main reasons. He said, you are telling me to abandon that Duryodhana who has done so much for me. He, because of his confidence in my support, has become ready to wage this war. How would it look if I abandoned him now? People will think that I was lured. I was lured by the greed of a kingdom, and that's why I gave up my best friend. And then he said, Dad, Kunti abandoned me. And why should I go back to her? It is, I have a family. I have parents. I have children. I have my own family. Why should I abandon them now? So he said that I cannot accept your proposal. And Krishna pulled Arjuna, Karna into a hug and Vinashikale Viparita Buddhi. Let's try to analyze what was wrong with Karna's reasoning. So Karna's reasoning had two parts to it. He said no because of family and friendship. So now with respect to family, did he have to reject his adoptive family to go back to his birth family? Krishna himself had done that. Krishna had been, you could say, it was not exactly the same as abandonment, it was circumstances. But then Kunti also did for the circumstances only. So, Krishna was given to the Nanda Maharaj Yashoda to take care of. And he stayed with them, and when the opportunity came, his parents took him back. So, there was no rejection. He could have dual parentage. That he could have multiple families, he could have had the love of both. Would his parents have felt bad? Oh, he's no longer asking. They had not hidden it from him that they had got him in, they had found him in the river. So it was known. So he was basically, this was imagining a problem when it didn't exist. He said, oh, I don't need that affiliation to a higher caste. I'm happy where I am. Well, he was not happy. If he had been happy, he would not have taken the address Suta as an insult. Whenever people would refer to him as Suta, he would feel it as a hurt, as an insult. So he wanted that. It would not have been a rejection of his family, but he thought it would be. And the second thing is with respect to friendship. Now, yes, there is, if somebody has done something for us, then naturally we need to reciprocate. If they have done us a favor, and we should support them the way whenever we can. But there also needs to be a perspective. So suppose somebody has, say, in our times of need, lent us some money. Now we return that money, but still they say, I desperately need your help. I'm in great need of money. Okay, I don't have much, but as much as I can, I'll help you. No, I don't need your money. Yes, I'm planning to rob a bank. I want you to help me rob a bank. No, I can't do that. What kind of friend are you that you're not able to help? Now, when something immoral, when an immoral help is asked, and then the question that is asked is, what kind of friend are you that you won't help me? So sometimes what happens is, some questions themselves are manipulated. That means this question is asked in such a way that whatever you say, you get trapped. What kind of friend are you that you won't help me? So sometimes when a question is raised, the best way to deal with the question is to question the question, not answer the question. There are trick questions like that. So there are trick questions. So this is not the right question. The right question is that what kind of friend are you that you are expecting me to help in this way? Isn't it? So we need to turn the question around. Friendship is not a one-way street. So you help me, that is good, because your kindness. But in response, what kind of friend are you that you seek this kind of help? So, if you had done me some favor, I'll do some favor to you. But a favor doesn't mean I do something immoral. Isn't it? So here, Karna felt that he was forever obliged to do it. Now, was he really? If I mentioned the Vaishnava Yajna, he had more than repaid. If Karna had been given the Angadesh, now Karna had given back, in one sense, the honor of being like the emperor of the whole world. Whatever best was possible to do. So, my friendship or even the word of honor is important. But everything has to be seen in the broader context. No value needs to be absolutized. So, it's like, suppose there is some child who is poor in, say, in the parts of Afghanistan and Pakistan, where the child is starving. And some people come and say, we'll feed you, we'll take care of you. And the child is given a decent facility for living and surviving and functioning. And the child is very grateful. But later on, the child comes to know that these people who are taking care of me are actually terrorists. And they want me to become a terrorist and kill Muslims. Should that person do that? How far does a debt of friendship go? Okay, you help me, yes, I'm ready to help you. You saved my life, I will save someone's life, but I'm not going to take life. And certainly not take life of innocent people. So, Karna got his calculations disastrously wrong. And here, the thing is that when he did this, as I said, the earlier thing, when he suggested Draupadi will slow, that could just be said impulsive thing, in the heat of the moment. He did that. But here, as he was talking, he was giving his reason. So this is actually a much deeper contamination. Generally, when we talk about anarthas, Krishna says that, for example, lust or kama can refer to craving in general. So, kama is present in the senses, in the mind, and in the intelligence. When kama corrupts the intelligence, then it's very difficult to conquer. That means one starts intellectually justifying what is being done. So, at least with respect to his previous suggestion of Draupadi will slow, Karna said, I made a mistake. But here, he didn't think he was doing a mistake. He thought that actually he was acting according to principles. And here if you see, what was Karna's choice? His choice was, oh, I have given my word and I have to stick to the word of honor. Well, that's important. But if the word of honor is requiring you to do something terrible, and on the other side was a life of honor. He would have been able to live virtuously. He would have been able to live in the company of people who were virtuous. He would have been able to become a Kshatriya in truth, not just in terms of skills, but also in terms of virtues. So that was the choice. So for him, he chose friendship, but was he really choosing friendship per se? We don't want to psychoanalyze anyone too much, but based on what we read in the Mahabharata, what is clear was that he was concerned more about the reputation. What will people think of me when I abandon my friend? Well, who are you really worried about so much? Arjuna could have had the same. Dilemma. See, for Karna, the situation was a little more delicate. It was not black and white because Duryodhana had done good things for him. But still he made a particular decision. Now for Arjuna also, for Arjuna and Karna, both of them, what they had was an ethical dilemma. Ethical dilemma means that there are two options and there is some good on each side and there is some bad on each side. So it's not, so generally ethical dilemma means there are two options and there is something good here and something bad here. Other option also, there is something good and something bad. Now at such a time, one has to actually analyze where the good is more and the bad is less. So yes, sticking to one's friendship is good. But if friendship, what was happening was, the word of honor was leading him to a life of, you could say, dishonor. Dishonor in the sense that he would have to support a person who was vicious. So even if Karna did not accept Krishna as God, even from normal ethical reasoning perspective, what Karna made was a blunderous decision. So then Krishna, as he left, Krishna said, we will meet next on the battlefield. So this is where things went. This is where you could say a conscious decision. So whereas you could say the contamination that is there inside us, what is the contamination? Now when we talk about senses, basically impurities or anarthas that are there inside us. They could be. When the Bhagavad Gita talks about senses, it is not necessarily about the sensory organs. The subtle body also there are senses. And the senses are there. Then there is the mind. And then there is the intelligence. So, at this, if you consider during the gambling match, the contamination in Karna was at this level. But by the time of the peace proposal, the contamination had become much more deep-rooted. It had gone to the level of intelligence. So, did Karna ever regret choosing Duryodhana over the Pandavas or over Krishna? He didn't. He thought he was doing the right thing. And then that brings us to the last part. In the acronym, what is the acronym? BART. So S is sorrow. Ultimately, actions do have consequences. So in the Kurukshetra war, for the first 10 days, who was the commander for the Pandava side? Bhishma. Then after that, Drona was the commander for 5 days. And then after that, Karna became the commander for the 16 and the 17 days. And then after that, for one day, Shalya was the commander. And then one night, Ashwatthama would be the commander. After that. So now Karna entered into the war on the 11th day. Because when Bhishma was the commander, he decided to sit out. And then he fought fiercely. He had some significant victories. Karna killed Ghatotkacha. Ghatotkacha seemed to be out to destroy the Kaurava army. And then on the 16th and 17th days, especially the 16th day was the day of glory for Karna. He just rampaged across the battlefield undefeated. And he had given his word to Kunti that you will always have 5 sons. So although he had the opportunity to kill the various Pandavas, he didn't kill any of them. And to that extent, that was to his credit. Now, of course, it's important to note over here that Kunti had not asked him for this. Kunti never asked him that spare my sons. Kunti had told him that you are my son. She didn't want her sons to fight among each other. She didn't want Karna to be killed. So it was not for the protection of her sons that she asked. She said, you are the eldest of my sons. The same proposal that Krishna had offered Kunti had also offered. Now, he rejected that. But at that point, what happened was, Kunti had come to him at the time when, after doing his daily worship of Suryadev, he would give charity. And he wanted to maintain his reputation, that nobody goes from me empty-handed. So it was his kindness, it was his, he was a person of his word, and he stuck to his word. But it was not that Kunti had asked him for that. It was he wanted to maintain his reputation, and that's why he did. Now on the 17th day, the final war happened between both of them. And during this war, both of them were fighting at their best. And it seemed sometimes that Arjuna would get the upper hand, sometimes Karna would get the upper hand. And yet, overall, see, by this time, it had become clear that this battle would be more or less the final battle. Whoever wins this, their side will win the war. In the beginning, there were so many warriors that major fights would be happening on multiple fronts. But here, as Karna and Arjuna were fighting, it was almost as if the whole battlefield stopped. War was going on, but it was almost like that people were watching. This is the encounter that counts. This is going to decide everything. Like there's a cricket match, but there's one champion bowler on one side and a champion batsman on the other side. Who wins that battle and determine who will win the match. It was like that. Now at that point, as Karna was fighting, it started seeming that bad things were happening to him. He had an extremely powerful mantra that he had got from his guru. Which was the mantra? Do you remember? Whether the Pashupatastra, I'm not sure. Bhargavastra was not. Some mantra which Parshurama had given him. And he wanted to use that celestial weapon. But as slowly Arjuna started seemed to be getting up for him, he tried to use that mantra, but he just couldn't remember the mantra. And then he remembered that his guru had given him a curse. That at the time of the most important battle, you will forget the mantra that you learned. Now this did not too much handicap him. Because Karna and Arjuna, they were fighting more or less fairly, equally. That is, if Karna released a celestial weapon, Arjuna would counter the celestial weapon. So this forgetting, it prevented him from having a winning advantage. Now Arjuna would have countered that mantra with some other mantra, that astra with some other astra also, maybe not. But it was not that because of that forgetting, he lost the battle. It was just that he lost the winning edge. Now, also, as he was fighting, his chariot started sinking into the ground. And when that happened, at that time, his chariot became immobile. And then Karna told, "Oh Arjuna, wait as I get my chariot out of the ground. Do not entertain thoughts, entertain my course. Remember the codes of war, wait till I am ready to fight." Saying this, Karna jumped out of his chariot to try to pull out the chariot. Now, at that time, Karna lowered his bow. And then Krishna said to Arjuna lowered his bow. Krishna said to Arjuna, "What are you doing?" He said, "You have your enemy at a disadvantage now. Grab this opportunity." Arjuna was still a little hesitant. Half picked up his bow. And Krishna told Karna, "Oh Karna, it is fortunate indeed that now you remember the codes of morality." It is, people often remember the wrongs done to them and forget the wrongs done by them. Was it by the codes of morality that you participated in the scheme to have the Pandavas and their aged mother burned alive? Was it by the schemes of codes of morality that you jeered on Yudhishthir in a rigged gambling match? Was it by the codes of morality that you suggested that Draupadi be disrobed? Was it by the codes of morality that you laughed when that chaste lady was being dishonored in public? Was it by the codes of morality that you joined with 5 other warriors in killing the 16-year-old lad Abhimanyu? If that is the morality that you have used, today Arjuna will kill you by that same morality. Arjuna shoot. Now, here, before this, we'll talk about the ethics of the situation, this particular action. Now, at first glance, with Karna on the ground and Arjuna shooting, this seems unfair. It does seem unfair, no doubt. But that's why when we have to look at an action, we have to look at the action in the broader context. It is not just that immediate action. It is in which context the action is being performed. Ethics are fallen into two broad divisions. There is categorical ethics and there is contextual ethics. Categorical means this is right and this is wrong. These are two distinct categories. Good, bad. But contextual is more that what is good and what is bad depends on the context. So honoring one's word is good. But if honoring one's word means we have to do something dishonorable, then it's not so good. So we have to look at the overall context. And if the context is good or the context is bad. Now in a bad context, a good action may also become bad. And in a good context, a bad action may also become good. So, for example, if somebody there's a riot going on and they release one hostage. And there's some riot, one hostage is released, and they told that you don't tell anyone our whereabouts. That is the condition on which you release you. And okay, it is released. Now should you honor the word to the hostage keepers? And if you can save other people's lives and release them, and the word is important, but there are other factors also more important. So here, if you see beyond the broader many immoral actions that Karna had either participated in or even instigated, the specific action also. So, if you get Karna's actions, we can say generic immoral actions were there. Many which Krishna listed. Now, if you put a specific similar immoral action, if you want to consider. Actually speaking, this was a very serious war. At the start of the war, when the two commanders had met, Drishtadyumna had met, and on the other side it was Bhishma, but Duryodhana spoke on their behalf. He says, "O Pandavas, remember the codes of war. Don't adopt any cheating measures." Drishtadyumna became thoughtful. The Pandavas are always known to be virtuous. If there's going to be any cheating, it would have shown the Kauravas side. So Drishtadyumna said, "We will not be the first to break the codes of war. But if you break them, then those codes will not hold us back." So if you see, there may have been some minor violations here and there. In the heat of the movement, there are sometimes warriors who just lose their perspective and they do bad things. But if you consider the killing of Abhimanyu, that was not a heat of the movement thing. That was a cold-blooded plan. And in that situation, Abhimanyu was also exactly in a similar position. In fact, you would say the worst position. Abhimanyu's chariot had been broken, his charioteer had been killed, his armor had been pierced, his weapons had been destroyed, and still the Kauravas kept attacking. And one of the persons who was doing that same unethical attack. So if you consider, that means attacking a person who does not have the chariot to support them. Somebody who is a chariot and somebody who is charioteerless. That same situation. So, chariot warrior attacking a chariotless warrior. So, that this had been done to Abhimanyu. Now this was on the 13th day of the war. Now on the 14th day, something similar was done to Arjuna. Arjuna had decided that I'll be killing Jayadratha. And Jayadratha had been kept at the rear end of their entire army. And Arjuna penetrated into that army. But as he's going in and in and in, he said that it was like the army formation was 2 miles broad and 20 miles deep. So Arjuna had to go through that. His horses got tired. And Krishna told Arjuna, your horses need to be rested. So at that time, Arjuna got out the chariot. And Krishna took the horses on the other side. He tried to comfort them. Arjuna used some mystic powers to create a lake in the middle of the battlefield where they could get some water and some grass. But at that time, Arjuna was charioteerless. And the Kauravas did not stop. They were all charging towards him from various sides. And Arjuna, without any chariot and all alone, held them all behind. Held them all. He maintained his position and then his horses came back. On that very day, on the 17th day, when Karna and Arjuna had been fighting again with Karna. So at that time, there was one Rakshasa named Ashwasena. So this Ashwasena, he entered into the arrow of Karna. And then Karna shot that arrow. Now generally when arrows would be shot, the warriors would have 3 strategies broadly. One is either counter the arrow, dodge the arrow, or just tolerate the arrow. Tolerate means it hits you, but your armor is strong enough. It is sustained. So Arjuna thought it's an ordinary arrow and my armor is sustained. But Krishna recognized. So at that time, when Karna had put this arrow, now it was a powerful arrow, but Arjuna didn't think it was powerful enough to destroy his army. So Shalya had told him, aim the arrow at the chest. Because if you aim it at the chest, even if it goes a little off, below is the belly, there also it can be fatal. Above is the neck, there also it can be fatal. But there is, among warriors also, it's like in a cricket match, you want to win a match, you just hit one run and win the match. And you hit a sixer and win the match. There's a flourish in that. So like that among archers, if you can knock off the head of the opponent, and the head flies away, that's like winning the match with a sixer. So Karna wanted to build like that. And that's why Karna targeted the neck. When he targeted the neck, at that time, Arjuna didn't recognize this was a dangerous arrow. But Krishna recognized it. And Krishna very forcefully banged his foot on the footrest of his chariot. And because of that, his chariot sank into the ground. When his chariot sank into the ground, that arrow which was meant to hit Arjuna's neck, Arjuna also sank down, it just knocked off his diadem, his crown. And Arjuna survived. But after this, what happened was, the Pandavas, Arjuna's chariot was under the ground. It had sunk in. So Arjuna had to get out and he had to lift the chariot. Now Arjuna didn't tell Karna, hey, stop. So no part of Arjuna did that quickly and he fought on. So by this time, the war had become quite brutal. So it was not that what Arjuna did to Karna was unexceptionally wrong. It was not exceptionally wrong. That kind of actions had become unexceptional. The same actions are there. And now let us make two more points and then we'll stop. We can have some questions for some time. So one point is that some people say that actually Karna was a better warrior than Arjuna. And Arjuna could not kill Karna by fair means. And that is why Arjuna killed Karna by unfair means. So let's look at that in context. We have in the Mahabharata, there's a description of the various encounters between, so if you can consider encounter, let's have a scorecard. Okay. We have Arjuna and Karna. So now, in India the word encounter has a slightly different meaning. But encounter is means here, they're fighting. In the West you have an encounter, in India you do an encounter. So now when was the first encounter between both of them?
On the
Yeah, the martial exhibition. So martial exhibition. So what happened? You could say it was a draw. Karna was able to do exactly what Arjuna did, but nothing more than that. Now, after that, the second incident was Drona's Dakshina. After that martial exhibition got over, then they wanted to offer some Dakshina to Drona. What would you like? So Drona said, to arrest Drupada and bring to me. So both of them were ready to go. So Arjuna said, let the Kauravas go first. And by the time, Karna also went with him because he had become part of their team. So here what happened? The Kauravas went and they attacked Drupada's kingdom. And Drupada defeated them. And then after that, the Pandavas went. And the Pandavas defeated them. So it was indirect, but still, you could say it's 1-0. Now there could be some excuse that maybe Drupada was tired after fighting one person and he had to fight the second person again. But still, it's indirect. So then after that, the next incident, the next major encounter between them was at Draupadi's Swayamvar. Now in that Draupadi's Swayamvar, basically after Arjuna had won Draupadi's hand, the warriors became very angry. The Kshatriya kings became angry. Said, you, Drupada, you have brought all of us over here, and now instead of giving your daughter to one of us, you are giving it to a Brahmana. Have you brought all of us here to be humiliated? Then we will punish. And they all came to attack Drupada. At that time, Vishnu said, he's our father-in-law, we have to support him. So then, Bhima and Arjuna came forward and they held back the various warriors. And they were quite strong, so most of the warriors, they just fell off. But there are some people who just kept fighting. The people who kept fighting was Shalya, because he had very strongly wanted to marry Draupadi. And also Karna. So Shalya fought with Bhima and Karna fought with Arjuna. Now both of them were Brahmanas. Bhima more or less defeated Shalya. And Karna kept fighting, but he thought, this is a Brahmana, I should not shoot too many arrows. He just shot some arrows And then this Arjuna and the Brahmana kept countering him. And once Karna realized that this is not going to be easy victory, he didn't really have like a very strong craving for Draupadi. Okay, it's over. He says, Brahmanas are always respected by me. I won't fight against you. And he lowered it. So there also it was a draw. Now after that, there was the Gandharva incident. In the forest. Again, this was where Duryodhan, along with Karna and Shakuni and Dushasan, had gone to the forest and they messed with some Gandharvas over there. The Gandharvas defeated all of them. They arrested Duryodhan and Karna fled from there. But then after that, one of Duryodhan's servants went to the Pandava side, whoever Pandavas were nearby, and told them that he has been arrested. So then Arjuna and Bhima came, and Arjuna fought with the Gandharva and he defeated the Gandharva. So this was indirect. Again, this is also one. Now after that, you could see the only very clear direct fight between the two of them. Where did it happen? Virat. Now, we could use the same excuse. Okay, Drupada was tired, therefore it was easy for Arjuna to defeat him. But here it was Arjuna against the entire Kaurava army. Of course, at this time, it was fought according to ethics. So it was not that all the Kaurava warriors attacked Arjuna simultaneously. Because each Kaurava warrior came forward and fought. So Karna came twice. And each time, Karna was wounded and repulsed. So, this was a clear victory. So there is no incident in the entire Mahabharata where Karna ever defeated Arjuna. Somebody might say, no, he was a better warrior. Okay, but the track record doesn't prove it. So, but then the question might come up that why did Krishna insist when Arjuna was hesitating that Krishna insists that Arjuna should kill Karna when Karna was down. So Krishna wanted to illustrate a principle that is Shato Shatyam. Shato Shatyam means with the cunning, be cunning. So that the point is that the real world is a harsh world. And there are times when we have to deal with people who are cunning. And this is not a license to ourselves always become cunning. But it is true that in the real world, there are people, if you try to be good with a person who is downright evil, that person will only exploit your goodness. So this was a lesson which many Kshatriyas in Indian history, many didn't learn, unfortunately. So many occasions when, say for example, Islamic invaders would come, and what they would do is, right in front of their army, they would keep cows. Hundreds of cows they would keep in front, and from behind they would be shooting. Now the Indian warriors said, we don't want to shoot cows. So what do you do then? You get defeated. Well, if you get defeated, you won't be just killing those cows. If you get defeated, those cows are anyway going to be slaughtered eventually. But all the other cows will also be slaughtered. But sometimes in the world, difficult decisions have to be made. And when we say the world is a complete questions. So, now should we shoot cows? Obviously not. But if we don't shoot cows and the result is going to be temples are going to be desecrated, brahmanas are going to be killed, even cows are going to be slaughtered, then sometimes the world does not leave us with any good choice. So again, this is what I'm saying is not that all Islamic rules are like that. It is Islamic extremism was there. It is a strategy that was used by some kings. The point is not about Islam. The point is about recognizing that difficult decisions have to be made at times. So when we say the word dukkhalaya, it doesn't just mean that there will be distress in our life. It also means that sometimes we will have no good option. Sometimes the only choice that we have is one bad choice and another bad choice. If I do this person will be hurt. If I do this person will be hurt. Sorry?
Lesser of two evils.
Yeah, the lesser of two evils. Sometimes all that we can't have any good solution. All that we can have is a trade-off. And even the trade-off is not a good trade-off. You could say it is the least intolerable trade-off. What I'm going to lose is bad, but that is the real world at times. Now, this is not about being immoral, but Prabhupada always wanted to work with his god brothers. But sometimes it just didn't work. They were not ready to help. When Prabhupada came to America, Prabhupada had no intention of starting ISKCON as a separate organization. Prabhupada saw himself as a part of the Gaudiya Math. There's going to be other Gaudiya Math branches. So this spiritual master's mission. But his god brothers were not ready to support him in any way at all. In fact, when somebody wanted to support him, they opposed him. And Prabhupada decided that I have to do it. He tried to be as respectful as possible with God brothers, tried to maintain cordial relationships. But this is no way comparable. And the principle, sometimes we have to make difficult decisions in life. So, Krishna illustrated this principle. That's why in the whole driving discussion of the Mahabharata is Dharma. What is the right thing to do? And that is not easy to determine. It is not easy to determine what is right, but Krishna illustrates that even if something at one particular point seems wrong, but eventually the result is going to be good. Could Arjuna have defeated Karna in a fair fight? Possibly, probably. But Krishna said, don't take the risk. Finish this right now. So, that was the point of Krishna in making this decision. And for all of us, we don't, as I said, this is not to license any kind of immorality. But the point is, sometimes, like we have the example of Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami, when he was in the jail, and he had to get out of the jail, what did he have to say? He had been forced to convert to Islam at that time. And now he wanted to go to Varanasi to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He told the jailer, oh, I'm a devout Muslim. At least once in my life, I want to go to Midkandi. If you release me, then not only will I be able to fulfill my desire, but also you will get the piety of having enabled a person to go. And, okay, the jailer was not really convinced. Then he said, okay, I have some money also, give it to you. Now he's convinced. So now he had to get out of jail, he had to do that. So he could have said, I'm always going to be completely truthful. Well, he could have been truthful, but he would have been completely ineffective. All the service that he was able to do in the Mahaprabhu, he would not have been able to do that. So now these are exceptional situations, these are not routine situations. But sometimes some difficult decisions have to be made. So Karna, was he killed by unfair means? Well, you could say that, but unfair means had become almost not that uncommon by that time. And if he died, it was not so much. Arjuna shooting the arrow was the instrument. Karna's death, the arrow started by Karna's own decision to reject Krishna's proposal. So, we could say Karna's death, generally any incident, it can have multiple level of causes. So at one level, it was Arjuna's arrow. But at a bigger level, and the cause of Karna's death was Karna's own decision to reject Krishna's peace proposal. So that eventually became the cause of his death. Now exactly how that came about, those are details. So unfortunately, he was a hero. Though he was heroic, though he was charitable, he is an example of a good person who, due to very strong attachment, and his attachment was different from Dhritarashtra's attachment. Dhritarashtra said, "This is my only son." This is more of a chosen and justified attachment, by which he let himself be dragged down and ultimately be destroyed. So Karna's karma is that, yes, did destiny give him bad deed? Yes, it did. But destiny also gave many other people a bad deed. However, it was, if he was doing, it was not by the bad hand that destiny gave him, but by the bad decisions that he made. So I summarize what we discussed today. So we discussed primarily 3 points. The point of regret, 4 points, B-A-R-D. 3 points. R is regret. So we talk about these 3 kinds of people with goodness, people with weakness, and people with wickedness. So Karna, in one sense, was here, and Duryodhan was in the wickedness category. But somehow Karna went down. So initially it was opposition to wrong actions, but eventually it became instigation of wrong actions. Initially there was regret, but especially when there was a distortion of his intelligence. It was not circumstantial, not momentary, it was a mistake of reasoning at that time. So he gave reasoning of family and friendship, and both of those were actually where they were wrong, they were mistaken reasoning. And this was what actually doomed him ultimately. So he chose the word of honor over a life of honor. And then lastly, we discussed the final was the sorrow, the terrible death, the unfortunate death that he encountered. That was, while it was it unethical? Well, that action you can seem unethical, the way he was killed. But in the broader context, that in general unethical actions had happened from the Kaurava side. And specific unethical actions had also been done. So, overall by that time, unethical things had started happening quite a bit. And lastly, we discussed the track record of who was actually the greater warrior. And the killing of Karna, that was in one sense done to demonstrate that sometimes hard decisions need to be made. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So are there any quick questions?
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for wonderfully analyzing Karna's decision and mothering this right now.
The question is, you pointed about for cunning, like you have to be cunning. Like anyone who is being cunning, like you be cunning to them as well. But that won't apply for Vaishnavas, right? Or is it just for Kshatriyas this thing actually applies? Because we say like Taropi Sahishana, right? So how many people actually apply for a Vaishnava?
Okay, with the cunning, be cunning, does it apply for Kshatriyas, not for Vaishnavas? Well, yes, it depends on in what role are the Vaishnavas serving. If a Vaishnava is primarily playing a Brahmanical role, then there is no problem. Then that person can just tolerate. But if a Vaishnava is playing Kshatriya role, then they have to do what is required as a Kshatriya. So, while the Vaishnava is not a Kshatriya, but the responsibilities that are required for particular positions, particular situations in this world, they may require certain adjustments to be done. So, for example, say if we are practicing Krishna Bhakti in say a country where Krishna Bhakti is legally not allowed, then we may have to actually present it as if we are doing something else. And then actually we are doing something else. So we may think this is yoga, but what we are doing not so much yoga asana than bhakti yoga, it's something else. It's similar, but it's different also. So sometimes if we are in a particular position that brings with it certain obligations, certain limitations. Sarva rambhahi doshena humena nirvava. Krishna says that all endeavors are covered by fault in this world, just as fire is covered by smoke. Sometimes if the particular position that you have taken require certain obligations, then we cannot shy away from them, saying that I am a Vaishnava. If you really want to be a Vaishnava only, then don't take that position. If you take that position, then we have to do what is required to do the service in that position. Yes, please.
Correction, Prabhuji. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. It's very nice to us. Prabhuji, my question is about Krishna's offer to Karna. Krishna's offer to Karna. When Krishna offered that you could be the king, right? How to understand that, Prabhuji? Because technically, Karna is not a Pandava, because he doesn't have consent from Pandu to take birth from Kunti. So how to understand Krishna's, because Krishna knows everything, but Krishna has given this. How to understand it?
So, was Karna technically a Pandava? Well, not exactly. Having said that, it was that Pandu had a desire to have children, and because of a curse, he could not himself have children. So there was, at that time, a ritual called the Niyoga. So the Niyoga ritual was what? That in the past, continuing one's lineage was considered extremely important responsibility. And if somehow some king or some male in dynasty could not continue the lineage, then he would invite some other man to do that role. And then the child, then there will be no other contact apart from that one contact between the male and the female. And then after that, that child will be considered a male's child. Now when the devatas are invoked, now how exactly the mode of the union happened and how the child was proclaimed, that is not very clearly described in the Mahabharata. But irrespective of what it was, the principle was that Pandu wanted children. And would it have been exactly the same? No. But after Kunti was married, and then Pandu wanted children. And then well, that time it was slightly different. Here it was slightly different. But the overall principle was the same, because even the Pandavas were not directly Pandu's children. And if Krishna, and would the Pandavas agree to that? Yeah, he was their mother's son. Even if not exact, because the Pandavas' parenting itself was non-standard. So you could say Pandu's consent was not there, but Pandu's intent was basically to have a child. And the child could be fathered through the gods, the devatas, then that is something which is, at least in the Karmakanda worldview, that something is glorious. So in that sense, Yudhishthira would have agreed to it. And that's why Yudhishthira also felt very great regret that he had been the cause of the death of his brother. So it is non-standard. So the normal rules, because all the Pandavas' parenting is non-standard. So the normal rules of that might not exactly apply there. Yes, ma'am.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the wonderful class. I absolutely loved it. Prabhuji, I like the example that you gave that sometimes the army has to kill the cows because they want to look at the bigger picture, that they want to save the other cows and their own lives. But if someone is wicked and we have been cheated, should we see this as destiny and forgive them? Because we might have also been wicked with them in the past, or should we apply the tit for tat rule that Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to use here on the battlefield?
Were you there yesterday?
No, unfortunately not. I missed it.
Okay. So, yesterday we talked about the purpose of punishment is threefold. When somebody does something wrong, the punishment is to compensate the wrongdoer. It is to compensate the victim. Then it is to discipline or punish, to make sure that the consequences come to the wrongdoer. And third is that it is to deter the citizens generally. So punishment, it is meant for three broad purposes: compensation, retribution, and deterrence, for three different stakeholders. Now, in general, as a forgiveness, if we consider, forgiveness is an individual virtue. It is good if a person is forgiving, but forgiveness cannot be the state policy. Isn't it? The state cannot say, oh, you rob anyone, we'll forgive you. No, then the state will start breeding lawbreakers and criminals. So in our individual interactions, if somebody has done something bad to us, we can decide, I don't want to be involved in this. We'll just forget it, forgive and move on. That's fair and that's an individual decision. So in particular situations, especially if you encounter wickedness would be when a person is doing the same thing again and again and again, and the person has expressed no regret, has shown no report. So at that time, what should be the response? Well, it depends on our position and our disposition. So it is, disposition is our guna, position is our karma, broadly speaking. So if somebody is in the position of some kind of administrator, say if somebody is the police or somebody is the head of a particular institution, and they say, okay, I don't want to get involved in this. Well, if you didn't want to get involved, then you shouldn't have taken the position. The police say, oh, those people did right, I don't want to get involved in that. Well, what's your job then? In general, when we are dealing with people, it is important that we evaluate fairness and unfairness based on this life's karma, not previous life's karma. If somebody is robbed and they go to the king, they say, I've been robbed. The king says, you must have robbed somebody in your previous life. That doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Because when we are deciding response to wrongdoing, so our focus should not be others' karma. That we can consider, but this should not be the focus. The focus should be our dharma. What is the right thing for me to do in this situation? If we start focusing on others' karma, then where are we going to stop it? The mother has a newborn baby and the newborn baby is crying. Should the mother think, because of past life karma, this baby is crying? Let the baby cry. We would become heartless, monstrously heartless. So in general, when we have normal interactions, we should be considering what is my dharma in this situation? What is the right thing for me to do? And sometimes it may be that, okay, this, just forgive and forget and move on. That is the kind of counsel we can give to others, that is the kind of counsel we can give to ourselves. Sometimes it may be that, okay, trying to get this person justice is going to be too complicated, and that person is no longer in my life. Let me just forget it and move on. We might decide that, but that is more of a decision of strategy. Is it a principle that wrongdoers should be forgiven? Well, it is at an individual level. That's why I'm differentiating in the Bhagavad Gita. If you consider, when Krishna talks about the various duties of the various Varanas from 1841 to 44. So he says the Brahmana virtue is Shamodamasta Parshautam Shantir Arjavamevacha. So Shantir, it can refer to peacefulness, it can also refer to forgiveness. Keep people by forgiveness. But the Kshatriya virtue, Krishna says, is Yuddhe Chapya Apalayanam. He does not say that Kshatriya virtue is Shanti. If a fight is required, a Kshatriya should not flinch or flee from the fight. So if some aggressor has come and they are plundering the senior citizens. Oh, I don't want to fight, let's have peace. That won't work over. So, if we have taken a responsible position where we are meant to protect someone, then we can't say that, oh, this is their own karma, let them suffer. That will be our bad karma, because we are failing in our duty. Now, apart from that, it could also depend on one's disposition. Some people may just, no, this is too complicated, I don't want to get involved in this. I don't want to waste so much of my time in this. But some people may be, this person did this to me, this person might be doing it to other people. And I need to stop it. So, different people have different dispositions. So, even if they are not in an administrative position, how much they want to try to correct the situation by having the wrongdoer brought to justice, that will depend on their disposition. So, it's not a matter of absolute principle again over here. Now, of course, having said all this, in general situations, most of us should try to forgive. Because everyone commits mistakes and we all need more forgiveness in the world. But what is to be also understood is, forgiveness cannot be made a blanket policy, a universal policy, or an absolute virtue. So, forgiveness is definitely a desired virtue. We all should try to be forgiving. But what it should not be, it's not an absolute principle. Nor is it a default or the standard policy. That it cannot be. Okay? Thank you. Next one. Last question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Nandava Karna. Thanks for a wonderful lecture. You cleared a lot of misconceptions about Karna. My question about the retreats, as like the impurities contaminate senses, mind and intelligence. Like when Karna was even Krishna went and gave him a choice, but he couldn't understand that. Even he was wise. How we can understand that if in our day-to-day life, a lot of impurities getting to our mind. So how we can control them to understand the concept of Krishna.
Okay, so you're saying that Karna made the wrong decision, but he also had his conditions and conditionings. Those contaminated his thinking. So similarly, we might also get contaminated in our decision making.
Yes.
So how do you avoid that? Yes. Well, there are several things. First is that Karna didn't even hesitate in giving his response. He could have said, Krishna, I need some time to think about this. It was not even, it did not require much deep thought. So that is completely, he was sure that he was doing the right thing. So generally speaking for us, if I as a soul am here, my mind is here, and then the world is out here. So what happens is, in the world there will be different people. So we perceive them through the filter of our mind. So if somebody suddenly starts being very kind and sweet to us, immediately our mind says, what does this person want from me? So that's understandable reaction based on past experiences. But generally, if I am here, my mind comes in between. And we perceive everyone through the filter of our mind. But if we have close friends, then what happens is, I as a soul am here, my mind is here, and my friend, my guide, my well-wisher is here. So then I evaluate. Okay, my mind is saying this, my well-wisher is saying this. I think this is what I should do, if this person is saying this. So that means ideally, if we see our mind through the wisdom of our, through the inputs of our well-wisher. The mind is saying this is right, but my guru, my senior Vaishnavas, my guide is just saying this. So at least we should be able to create some distance between us and our mind and bring some proximity. So even if we have one friend like that, who we can literally share our mind with, share our deepest concerns and fears and maybe vulnerabilities with, then that person can help us evaluate. Okay, is my thinking right or is my thinking not so right? It's difficult to have friends like that, but that is extremely helpful. And we need to cultivate friendships like that. Those friendships won't happen automatically. You have to invest in that kind of relationship. So, generally speaking, when there are difficult decisions, that means difficult decisions means there are a lot of consequences, a lot of factors to be considered, and it's an ethical dilemma. It's not very easy to determine what is the right thing. The first thing to do is pause. Don't take an immediate decision. Then, if you have pause, that is helpful. But the next thing is, then try to gain perspective. Perspective means we gain perspective by consulting others. Consult. We don't have to outsource the process of the decision making to somebody else. It is we who have to take a decision. But gain perspective. Consult with if we have some well-wisher. That's helpful. Now, when Arjuna had to make a decision, also for him it was a difficult decision. His guru and his grandfather was on the other side. How can I fight against this? He didn't immediately say, I will not fight. He talked with Krishna. And he did not immediately accept Krishna's words. He discussed with him. And Arjuna himself had to be convinced. But he had a discussion enough, a serious enough discussion to actually gain that conviction. And of course, we need to pray. So it is, generally speaking, for our mind, if we want to distance ourselves, there are these three things. Internally, there is a pause. Socially, we try to gain perspective. And then vertically, from above Krishna, with Krishna we try to pray. So, these are the broad ways by which we can move toward making better decisions. So, thank you very much. Shri Krishna Bhagwan ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Jai Gaur Premanand.
Jai Chaitanya Prabhu Ji ki Jai.